Welcome back to It Tastes Like Burning. This is Matt.
This is Jesse.
And before we dive off into the always exciting and thoroughly thought provoking show, if you ever feel like asking us a question, find us on ittasteslikeburningcast at gmail.com. You can find us on Patreon at It Tastes Like Burning Cast. And as you're using Apple and Google and Spotify and on, you'd be shocked at how big of a difference it helps if you give it a bump or comment.
Yeah.
That's the type of stuff that actually makes a big difference.
Yeah. And post a link. Get out there and post a link on your Facebook and say, hey, check this out. It's worth a listen, or this is terrible, or whatever it is you think. Uh sure does help a lot with the old metrics, right?
Sure. Huge difference. So what we're going to bounce off into today is something that I'm sure a lot of departments are probably cringing about. And we're going to bounce around a little bit here, a couple of different topics. But short of being Punxsutawney Phil and completely oblivious, there's these things called gas prices.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And they're evidently up.
Yes. My little company spends a couple thousand more a month than it did 2 months ago.
Now, I to sound like a complete and utter schmuck, I noticed gas prices were high when I finally put $30 of gas in my car.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife's car used to only hold $30 and now it holds 65.
Now, wow.
It made the tank so much bigger. No, that didn't
Yeah,
what happened.
that's not how it works.
That's not what happened.
It's a different kind of inflation.
Oh, okay.
Now,
I was
so
confused.
this week I was down at the Texas Fire Chiefs Association meeting in Waco, and I saw it on actually a couple of different news stations where they were talking about VFDs, particularly on the 10 o'clock news, and they were just talking about gas prices. And I mean, for us, we kind of have a cheating woodchuck because we have a fuel tank.
Yeah.
It's not exactly gigantic, but it's big enough that we can try our best to
And
buy fuel when it's projected to be at least a decent cost, and we bulk buy.
well, not just that, but we have a line item in the budget that's should hedge us for. I mean, it would have to stay really high for a really long time, and call volume would have to be really high for it to
Right,
actually get that deep into us, right? Doesn't mean we can't be conscious and not waste fuel.
right.
Uh, because we should do that. Everybody should be doing that, right? Let's, you know, instead of leaving the old engine running in front of the grocery store, maybe turn it off.
Yeah. Or the couple of departments I know, they're sending the chief to literally go buy groceries, and he's
Yeah.
taking the chief buggy.
Yeah.
The paid departments.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like the struggle is real out there right now. That's kind of one of the things that we're gonna talk about today is just the economics of being VFD, because not only is it awesome, but there's times when it's more awesome.
Right.
And we're kind of hitting one of those periods where it's more awesome and kind of taking like a bigger national outlook on this. So the western half of the United States has had their lowest recorded snowpack levels ever since they've been measuring snow with a stick.
Right.
So to say that the western US is about to get their teeth kicked in this summer is the understatement of the century. Um and it's going to be bad. And then we come into Texas. Uh,
And we're below on rainfall.
Texas had a very, very dry winter. And so far, we have had a very, very dry spring. So we're coming into potentially some very bad fire conditions here in a couple of weeks. We'll see. Difference is in Texas is it can dump a foot of rain in a day across the entire state. and that makes everything all better. But
Yeah. Well, where I've been, I spent some time last week and this week in the hill country, and last week things were starting to really kind of turn and green, and this week it is, by gosh, emerald fields of green, and I mean it's really pretty right now. Uh, there's a lot of difference that's happened in the last couple weeks in that Central Texas hill
yeah,
country.
well, and they've also gotten some rain.
Yeah, a lot of rain.
Yeah, I mean, they finally got some rain. I mean, I know for me, I've lived in this area for now 16 years, and not to go on a completely different talking point, but I've seen a pretty significant weather pattern change here. And by significant, what I mean is that the winter starts later, it stays cooler longer, and I'm seeing spring start a lot later, and then spring holding on a lot longer. But when summer's here.
That's what I remember as a kid, though. Like that, this is more of a weather pattern that was in the 80s.
Okay.
And when it gets droughty, it's really droughty, right? It's bad. Uh, and I think parts of the state are seeing that, because if you get down into the oh, that western half of the hill country, that Pedernales River
Oh
Valley,
yeah. Yeah.
the
Now they're
yeah,
kind of,
Comal, the
yeah, Fredericksburg,
yeah,
Kerrville, um, Utopia, Uvalde,
yeah,
uh,
all that, they're dry. I mean,
real dry.
they've had some rain, but not enough to like actually
Well, and
fill
even
lakes and flow water. I
even if you
drove
take
over.
that catastrophic flood they had last
Right, it
year,
didn't.
that's the only rain they had.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
it. Like the rest of it went downstream.
For those of you that knows Texas, I went from Brady, Texas to Austin to Manchac last week, and drove over the Pedernales River, and kind of that western edge of Lake Travis that pokes out there on a 71, and every boat dock's sitting on dirt, like water's nowhere in sight, and it's been like that for years.
Yeah.
Like it just hasn't caught the water that it should have caught in that amount of time. And part of it is maybe they're using more water, right?
Yeah, like go a little further south, like into Corpus area. Like that didn't make any sense to me how much you had that lake, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the lake.
It's on the Colorado though,
Yes. Uh Made no sense. Lake goes from 5% full to 110% full,
and
and
then right back down.
and then over the course of winter, which makes no sense, drops back down to like 5 or 6% full. And it's like, is their water usage that high? Well, technically yes, but it has to do with the new petrochemical installations that are in the Corpus Christi area. And in their brilliant, effervescent wisdom, they gave away water rights to surface water and river water rights, sold them to these damn chemical companies instead of forcing them to build a desalinization plant
Right.
and suck the water out of the Gulf. Like, I, I feel like I'm a really weird person when it comes to like business and stuff like this because I'm all pro business. Like I'm pro nuke, I'm pro pharmaceutical, I'm pro bank, I'm pro finance. But I also believe there's like this thing called checks and balances and regulation. And like I do believe that there needs to be some environmental considerations. And I can't believe the city of Corpus Christi gave away all their damn drinking water to a chemical company. Like, how stupid can you be?
Well, slap my hand, call me an idiot, right? I think that a lot of the problem today in this age is that everything is so polarized, right?
Oh
And it's
yeah.
it's
No, and
so far
it's
to one
getting worse
extreme
and
or
worse.
the other,
Yeah.
that there's no action to find a middle ground or solutions that work for everybody. or at least for most people, right? It's so polarized in the political world, and that's why you've got the whole NIMBY, not in my backyard. People are just screaming at the top of their lungs for all the things that are happening with data centers and uh and all this and the extra power plants. But the reality is some of that is actually pretty beneficial, right?
Well, unfortunately, I'm in the pro data center camp, but again, I'm also pro neighbor. Like I truly believe that everyone has a concern and a right to be pretty seriously pissed off if
Yeah,
things like
absolutely.
lighting's not concerned, noise isn't concerned and addressed. Uh the
But we don't ever get to address any of those things because it's either nothing or all of it.
right, it's just screaming.
Right? We don't talk about the middle ground anywhere in there about actually addressing things. It's either nothing or all of it. And that's the two choices. And that's my bigger point, right?
You
That
know,
that it's so polarized that there's no way to make a compromise that actually might make things better.
right.
It's all or nothing.
Yeah. I think there's an interesting discussion to be had on tax abatements. Uh Oddly enough, I'm not necessarily a big fan of tax abatements. Uh
I I am, but it's got to be for the right thing, right? I saw all these counties and districts give all these abatements to all these wind farms, right? And it really didn't do anything for them,
right,
and the wind farms didn't hold up their end of the deal. Like if Toyota is going to come build a plant in your city and employ tens of thousands of people, probably a good enough reason to give some abatements. But something that may have a $200-300 million valuation that employs 4 people
right.
doesn't make sense, right? It has to balance out with the number of people
Yeah. And
because that's
who
the
are the
point of the
4 people
abatement.
being hired to,
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
kind of the point of the abatement is we're going to attract new people. And these people are going to pay taxes, so we should get to pay less taxes because we're bringing these new people.
Yeah. I just think it's a reality that no one really wants to have a discussion about and just admit that the fact and reality that the world's changing. There's absolutely quantum leaps happening right now, global, hemispherically, nationally, regionally, state, back to region, county, city, town, zip code, block,
Yeah,
house. Like and we're taking really really aggressive stances on things that actually need a lot of discussion. And we could be talking about fuel prices,
right.
okay? Like let's not even talk about data centers, something that's controversial, you know? Let's just talk about fuel. Um and
You
but
know, the fuel and all these things. It's all these houses of cards that are just standing there waiting for just the minor little gust of wind or somebody to flick one of them out, and everybody wants to point fingers and do all this stuff, but there's this cascading effect, right? How many refineries out west were shut down this last year?
oh, quite a few.
Quite a few. How many refineries were built to replace them?
Let me check. None.
Right, right,
Well, if they were built in Texas.
right.
Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, uh, Florida, Carolinas, possibly Georgia.
But the problem is that it at some point, supply and demand actually overrides everything, right? If the demand is high and the supply is low, and if all of a sudden it's way more lucrative to send the oil to some other country that doesn't have oil right now because of a moose and a whore, or wait,
Yeah.
whore moose.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
Words matter.
but if there's no oil and there's, it's much more lucrative to send your oil to Scotland. Do you blame them?
No. No, I
Because it's
don't.
wrong to tell them they can't.
No. Unless they're in your backyard.
Right.
Yeah. No, it really is. There's a lot of delicate intricacies to it. Um, kind of taking it back to the fire department side. I've tried to very gently talk to departments, like particularly VFD, small VFD. Couple of them have actually gotten permission from their county to go to the county fuel barn and fill up, uh, particularly their big trucks. Um, some of them have actually uh really networked and used like their local resources to find a place to try and buy like bulk fuel cheaper, even though they don't have the storage. Um, and
Well,
then
they're buying futures, basically.
there's some departments that are, just having to run a card through a pump,
Right.
and they're having to really gauge the call and really having to decide how they want to respond to it. The handful of departments that I know that pass the hat around, I bet that ain't working right now. I haven't been able to talk to any of them, but I bet that ain't happening.
One of the goofy things, and this legislation has passed through Texas a handful of times, excuse me, to exempt fire departments in general from fuel tax, right? Because you're a tax exempt nonprofit, except for these certain taxes that you
Right.
still have to pay, right? Like you're not exempt from these taxes, but you're exempt from taxes, but just not these taxes. And the farmers get a cutout, the school buses get a cutout, but the VFDs don't get a carve out for fuel taxes, which is it's around 20 something cents a gallon, right? I think it's 29.
It's higher than that.
It's actually a pretty good little chunk that you have to pay.
I'll hit the Googler real
Hit the
quick.
gargler and gargle that. But yeah, so does 30 cents matter when it's $6 a gallon? Yes. Yes, it does. But we're about to find out exactly what it is.
38.4 cents per gallon.
So almost 40 cents, right?
That is state and federal.
Right. Yeah. Does that help? Probably. Probably helps a lot of them.
Huh. You want to know why the U.S. doesn't have mass transportation? We just figured that out.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't imagine how much money that is every month.
Per gallon, right?
Hell, I was reading a report the other day that's saying Europe's out of jet fuel in 6 weeks.
And they're going to be willing to pay more for it.
Now, there was a saying about that. What was it? Drill? Baby drill. No, I'm wrong. Yeah, I don't know.
Probably stupid.
I thought, yeah, you're right.
But
I saw the back of a Heineken bottle or something.
yeah, that's what it was. But yeah, no, it's wild, and it affects everything, right? It doesn't just affect going to the call. It affects everything.
Oh, yeah, I mean, again, because you have to look at the just look
Shipping
at
costs and
but just look at a city or county impact. Like, it kills the EMS, it kills law enforcement, because those are fixed budgets.
mhm,
Uh, kills county road ops. Electricity goes up. I mean, on and on and
on
on.
and on and
Like,
on.
yeah, like it's a huge thing.
Bottled water will have to go up because that bottle takes petroleum, right?
Well, not that bottle. That one's been on the shelf for 10 years.
Yeah, well,
Plastic.
mm,
Oh, nope, sorry, PFASs.
yeah, it's got that too. That was I saw something the other day where oh gosh, what company was it? It was a non-fire related company that was in trouble for PFAS.
I thought that was everyone.
Well, this one got sued quite a bit. It was an apparel company that was using PFAS in whatever they were making, shoes, whatever.
Everyone uses PFASs.
It's everywhere.
I can guarantee you 10 years ago it was in your toothpaste,
Yeah.
your shampoo, your deodorant, your socks, your TV remote, and your microwave TV dinner.
Yeah.
It was everywhere. There's a reason they call it a forever chemical.
Right. Now it's all in my midsection.
Yeah. Hey, I resemble that mark now.
Yeah. Yeah. Visceral fat, right?
Yeah. Lots of it. Wait. Oh, well, that's just a statement. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I truly am curious, like how a lot of departments out there just tackling the one thing
Fuel.
of just fuel, how you're doing it. Uh my best guess is that you're doing it how you've always done it. Just grin and bear.
Yeah. Maybe not order foam, or maybe not order new tires, or something that you
Yeah.
needed, right?
Cut out a set of bunker gear.
Yep.
Don't do an oil change on the truck. We can stretch it a little longer. Stuff like that. And
Well, I think since the last time it's been a hot minute since we've done a podcast.
it's been 2 weeks
No, it's been longer than that.
now.
Yeah, it's been over 3.
Okay.
Yeah. Been a hot minute. And I don't think we've talked about, you have decided to go ahead and go to Arlington, Virginia and attend the MBFC conference.
Yeah. Yeah, I have. Mostly going to just show some support for you and Kim. But also, for whatever reason in the world, Texas does a poor job of representing itself at these types of events, or at least particularly this event, and we need to remedy that. Sit here and talk about, representation and trying to make an effort and yet you don't go to this stuff. Now, last year we get a pass.
Yeah, it was the same day.
Yeah, it was the same day as our state convention. So, like that, sorry, that doesn't count. And we squeaked pretty hard at MVFC over that. Like, please check the calendars of states and try and not have your convention the same time as other states are having their conventions.
And inevitably with 50 states, it's going to conflict somewhere, right?
It can. Planning prevails. Like, I think that's a big part of it. But no, I'm looking forward to heading to it. I signed up for my classes a while ago. I thought about driving out there and making kind of like a week trip out of it, but then realized I don't want to make a week trip out of it and just decided to fly out there instead.
Yeah. So we'll Texas, and then we'll get a week off, and then we'll national, right?
Yep.
And I'm still super excited about it. I get the opportunity my schedule's been insane. Kim's schedule's been insane. I get the opportunity to. She and I are teaching the same class in May, and then we turn around and teach it in June, and then we'll turn around and teach it at the end of June. So it gives us a couple of times to work through it and kind of have a little bit better. Although we did submit our slideshow a month ago, right? But
Okay.
we have the opportunity to elaborate and figure out get some flow, right? She and I are pretty good. We both like to hog the stage the entire time and speak the entire time and not let the other one speak. So we're real good at that, right? But we'll get that mellowed out. We've done this class probably 10 times, and of the 10 times we've done it, it's been good every time. So,
Well, the more you practice, the better you get at it too.
yeah, I I've had some super positive feedback on this class over the last several months. She got some feedback from a chief, uh, kind of in the big country area
Okay.
that said they doubled their uh, Facebook following in around a 9-month period.
Right.
Uh,
How big did their department grow from that?
Actually, they picked up people. I don't have a solid number on that, but they picked up people. They've done well
Yeah.
with it.
I don't know how else to say it. Like, I mean, it's not like we're selling it to you. We're telling you really basic crap that we've done. We found great success with it. A handful of other crazy people tried it. They found great success with it. And quite honestly, none of it's hard.
No, no, and it may be something that you personally are not super in tune with, but there's somebody there that is.
Yeah. Or wants to.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. I look forward to heading out there. Um,
I also may have got us sit down with
a person of interest.
yeah,
We'll leave it at that for now
yeah,
because I know who you're talking about.
excellent. Yeah, we may get to do some extracurricular activities, right?
Yeah, that'd be okay.
Uh, and it's gonna be a good time.
Be, be willing to interact with the plebs for a little while.
Yeah, yeah,
I wish Chief Cook from Louisiana would have made it to the U.S. Fire Administration.
yeah. No, that would have been cool.
I wish that could have happened. What a check on him.
Yeah,
Guy's crazier than a March hare and brilliant.
yeah. Somewhere I have his card.
I have it still at the house.
Excellent. We should send him an email.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I look forward to it. I like getting out there. Of course, I've fallen off the face of the earth with NVFC. Um, a lot of it's just my personal schedule
Yeah,
is truly pushing it right now.
it's really. I read it every day. I don't respond every day, right? I I tend to, if it's something that I have passion about, I'll respond to it. There's been a lot of conversations that I thought Matt would be good at some of these conversations. I prod along a different conversation every now and then. I dropped one the other day and it didn't do well. It had a few interactions, but uh I try to keep the ball rolling. Uh
Well,
the,
some of it's timing too, though.
right.
You know, I mean, you could have a fantastic topic, but just whatever
Oh,
the
right
right.
now they all hate nears, right?
Well, I can
But
understand that.
but I don't. I'm not going to waste my time, energy, and effort talking about how terrible or how awesome Nears is because it doesn't matter.
No,
I
there's
can't
not a
do
damn
anything.
thing you can do
I
about it.
can't do anything about it. It is what it is. Whatever data points they're looking to capture, they understand that. It's we may not understand it. It may not be the same data points we want, but it is what it is. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really is kind of a lost battle trying to fight against something like that. Like,
No. And I understand the premise of what was trying to be done, and I don't disagree with it. I I understand that your grain silo fire or whatever, your corn bin is not there anymore. But put something that's close to that and then write it in your narrative, right? Make it part of your narrative what it was.
right.
That's why there's a narrative there. And I hesitate to make those kind of comments on that platform because it's boy, there's a bandwagon jumping on the bandwagon about just hating on Nears, and it's like they give you this whole there's like 3 different places you can write stuff. Write stuff.
Yeah. I mean, the National Fire Administration is one of the few bureaucracies in the U.S. that's actually remotely worth a crap.
That's done something, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that's biased on our behalf. I don't know, but I think they've done stuff. I helpful tip, and I've been doing this here lately at work is you take and write your narrative and then just drop that sucker in an AI, let the AI clean it up, and then copy and paste it back in there. Obviously reread it, right? But boy, you can sound like you actually know what you're talking about.
Yep. Yeah. I don't know. Whatever. People look, it goes back to what you were saying earlier. People got to be pissed and angry about something. So
Yeah.
let's make it that.
Yeah.
If you can't be mad at a data center, let's make it mad at that. Yeah. There's a couple of speakers at MVFC though that I'm pretty interested in seeing what they have to say. Um, the one challenge, and this is true for everything out there, doesn't matter if it's NVFC or SFFMA or IAFC or Texas Chiefs or uh, FDIC, like,
Which is coming up
yeah,
next
next
week.
week, you're still not seeing a lot of concentration on frontline officers and officer development.
Right. So
I would
I
argue it's the biggest weakness right now to the VFD service.
I got asked to find a class, right? By our new district president. Said, "Hey, I think this needs to happen." And we've been talking about this for years. We've talked about it with Gene. We've talked about this, that this needs to be a thing. So I got out there and I looked around and I wasn't satisfied with anything I found, right?
Right. The curriculum sucks.
It's actually pretty horrible. Like it makes sense if you're trying to climb the ladder in a career department and it's a checkbox, right? So I've been building a class to focus on a volunteer officer of a volunteer department and make not I'm not changing the JPRs. I'm not changing what the class is teaching. I'm changing the examples that are given. I'm changing the the structure, the parts of the class to meet what a normal volunteer would see and not Dallas, right?
Right. Well, it doesn't even have to be Dallas. It can be the world's smallest career department.
Right.
Well,
Because no one in Benoit Grosswiener cares about shifts.
right.
They don't need to understand how a shift calendar works,
Correct.
right? They need to understand something that's relevant to a volunteer department.
Here's the Herculean task with this class. You have to take Homer's Odyssey and make it 20 pages.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm hundreds of slides into this thing. Now it's got to get broken down into a couple different parts, but there's a piece of it that needs to be size ups and smoke reading.
I've done a ton of thought into this. Here's and I haven't talked to you at all about it either, but I actually spend quite a bit of time driving thinking about this. So there's a reason that JPRs exist.
Right.
Okay.
And they're broad.
And you want to hit these topics.
Yeah.
There's a good reason that you want to hit those topics.
Yeah.
Okay.
To me, it's not the topic, it's the examples that are used in the current curriculums.
And probably the cheesiest, most stupid example I can give of this, and I'm going to relate it to a firefighter one skill: ladders. Okay. Arguably, ladders are some of the most dangerous things firefighters work with. Okay.
That and road cones.
And you sit there and you actually look at what the JPRs are for a ladder. They're carrying and setting up,
Identifying,
okay,
cleaning, yeah, maintenance, blah,
maintenance, like stickers. Don't get me wrong, that's all important. But other than the firefighter lifting the ladder into power lines, where's that firefighter going to get killed with a ladder?
falling off of
Falling off the damn thing. And yet we don't really talk about that. You know, I mean, we do, but we don't. Okay. Here's another example. Okay. Private pilot. Okay. You bounce up in your little bug smasher. All right. And you send people off. You teach them how to land, take off, do all this crap. But you know, the one thing that the private pilot really doesn't emphasize is crosswind landing. Do you know what the single greatest skill of any pilot is?
crosswind landing.
Crosswind landings. Like nothing else matters compared to that. Like it's such a skill to build and develop. Now, let's bring it back to reality. Let's talk about a chief. Okay? Here's the problem with the fire chief. You can't be really good at one thing and terrible at everything else. You can't be a budget wizard and be the world's biggest, just meanie, terrible, hateful, spiteful person, because no one's going to listen to that guy. And you can't be the most skillful, world's greatest teacher and not be able to handle a budget. And you can't handle every single HR problem but have zero personnel skills. And here's the problem with the fire chief. It doesn't matter if you're some podunk middle of nowhere, no one's ever heard of you, VFD, or whether you're in New York City. At the end of the day, your community looks at you as the fire chief.
Yeah.
And guess what the hell you have to be? A fire chief.
Well, there's a thing in business, and it really affects small business, right? Where if you're the owner of a company, a small company, 0 to 10 employees, right? The any any duty or let's just call them overhead tasks, right? The things that don't make you money that have to be done. Dealing with the insurance company, dealing with HR issues, developing policy, all these things that don't really make you money, but they have to be done. If you can't delegate those, you have to do them.
Right.
And the same thing holds true with the fire chief, right? If you can't delegate those things, you have to do them.
The one thing, here's the ultimate reality test. And if you're still listening at this point, kudos to you. And here's my challenge to anyone that's listening to this. There's things that are important, and then there's things that are important. You want to know at how capable your department, this isn't a chief thing, this is a department thing, but it's also a gut check for the chief. You want to know how capable that department is and prepared? Have a suicide on the department. Figure that one out on the fly.
Yeah.
Okay. Have a member committed of a serious felony, and all public social media and all media interactions reference your organization. Have a catastrophic fire on scene with a civilian death, and you get accused of it. Doesn't matter if you did or didn't. Okay. I'm barely scratching the surface of what a chief is.
Yeah.
That's where it starts. Okay. It's not command on scene. Jesus Christ. That's the easiest, most redundant, simplest part of it. It is. I'm sorry. It is.
Yeah.
Command on scene. You shouldn't be command. You have other officers. You have captains, you have lieutenants, you might even have battalion chiefs, and you have an assistant chief. They can run command. I'll go as far as to say it's not your damn job to run command on scene. Okay? And if you think it's your job to run command on scene, there's a check mark. Oh, maybe I need to look at some other stuff. And I realize I'm just some fat bastard, don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Okay? But I hate to tell you this, I do. And there's a lot more to it than running command on scene. Okay? Have a broke piece of equipment that's a hazard. Absolute hazard. Okay? And you've got to get it fixed. It is your responsibility to figure out how to get new tires on that truck. Or maybe it's an important piece of equipment and it needs a new pump. Like, that's why you're chief. That's why you're chief. You're not chief to go run command. That is not chiefing. That is a given.
Yeah.
That is a given to the given of breathing oxygen. Good. You can sit in a truck and point. There's more to it.
Here's a cookie for doing your job.
Right. Like no one cares. Fantastic. Serve that out.
You want a
twice day.
donut?
Yeah. Maybe.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're hitting the Wizards time frame.
What is it?
We're 40-ish minutes.
Oh no, hell no. I want to finish this rant.
All right, go ahead. Ran
Yeah.
away.
Yeah, no, it is. And this goes to the premise of the class. And again, this is the hard part. Okay? Because realistically, if I sat down and started to try and create this class, the thing would be 14,000 slides.
Yeah, no, I'm getting there.
And
It's hard.
that's a bit much. Okay. So then we go to the cheating woodchuck and we're like, well, maybe we can find like a command and control class and then interject ourselves into it. And then it immediately turns into a 14,000 slide class. And and then you look at other programs and you're like, wait a minute, this is all for like NFPA. It's not applicable to us. We don't need New York City Chiefs or San Francisco Chiefs or Miami Chiefs or Honolulu Chiefs. Like, and I don't need a chief of like the special underwater BB stacking dive team. Like, I need a VFD chief. And that class doesn't exist.
No.
It just doesn't. And I'll tell you this, the vast majority of fire chiefs that I've stumbled into, they're good dudes and they're perfectly fine. And here's the best part. Everyone's clueless. They just pretend. And that's the first trick. Just pretend.
Well, I am diligently working on said class. I should have it in a packaged form in the next 30 to 60 days.
And I was thinking about this. X amount of years we sat down and wrote down the 10 golden rules of growing
Yeah.
your department. I'm telling you, in 10 minutes, that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
We need to just sit down and say, here's the categories, and here's the kicker. Those aren't sections. That's the week.
Yeah.
You're going to have a 200 PowerPoint slide on finance. And I don't give a crap who you are. You need that. Because the fact of the matter is that your considerations and options, that what you're considering for finance isn't enough. Like it's just not. And that's one thing that I'll say that I'm really strong at is that. Like
Yeah.
you have
I'm
options.
to that point where I'm fixing to start asking certain people to do certain sections. Like I've got the overview done. I've got the outline kind of built. I know what it is, right?
Right.
Like I know what it takes to hit the JPRs, to give the credit for it. I know all these things. It's just there's somebody that's going to be better than me at a finance part of it. There's going to be somebody that's going to be better than me at a size up smoke reading part of it.
Right.
Like
And the PR and the planning
and
and the whatever.
right.
Like you just keep going through it. Like,
Yeah, I've even been talking to so there's an excellent class that's put on through SFFMA that's a chief development class, right?
sure,
Excellent class. The instructor's a great dude, does a good job with it.
been through it. It's a fantastic class.
But there needs to be like 2 or 3 other things that lead into that.
Oh, I would argue there needs to be 2 or 3 other things completely restructured in every single one of his classes.
Well, I think there's stuff that needs to happen. There needs to be things that happen before that.
And that is not a critique, I mean, or criticism
Well,
of the
it's just a
individual.
matter of
Like,
there's X amount of time and how
sure.
right.
Well, but here's my one dagger I'll throw. The individual that made the class, fantastic class, and you're a damn fool if you're in Texas and you don't take it. Period. His perspective at the end of that, the core of it is what he knows. And what he knows
It's
is
not poor broke VFD.
right. It's major US suburb with quite frankly more money than you shake a stick at.
Right.
Okay. That transitioned to become a combination department that still has volunteer. Okay. And it's a powerful organization and kudos to them. But the fact of the matter is that when you're as broke as a church mouse and your nearest neighbor's 300 miles away, that ain't going to work. Okay. You need a different class.
Yeah. And I think they're building blocks, right? I think we can create this to be building blocks. I know of somebody else that's working on a class that would fall in between what I'm working on and that class.
Who?
The Panhandle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Some guys in the Panhandle are working on this.
Because the truth is that we're not the ones to actually build a small rural agricultural community.
I have enough I have enough experience in that realm to
Okay, because I'm definitely not that guy.
I have enough experience in that realm to know how to structure it, right?
Now,
Uh, and I think that we can do this. I think it can be staged in steps. I'm actually pretty excited about it. I wish I could spend more time on it uh, to just get it done.
let's just sleep.
But yeah, I do some of that, but never at my house.
It's just when you're driving.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do though. I think this is a class that needs I think it needs a lot of attention.
Yeah. And I think it's always been something that nobody wanted to put the work into. Frankly, it's a lot.
Well, there's only I'll be kind of an ass here. There's only 2 retards and they happen to be sitting in the same room that are willing to put that
that
type of
amount of time.
energy into that project.
Yeah.
Um,
Or understand it well enough to figure it out.
there's that.
Right. It's not building a class from my perspective. It's building a class from the perspective of someone else to help someone else.
Yeah.
And it's not dumbing it down.
No. No, I would argue that's where you're killing yourself.
It's not dumbing it down.
No.
It's making it relevant.
And we've talked about that. Well, relevant, but scenario based.
Right.
I mean, come out of the gate, like absolute just worst poo on toast scenario. Here you go. How do you handle it? And just have a group discussion on it.
Yeah, there's a lot of and there's a lot of boxes you have to check, and there's a lot of things like when you talk about using human resources or being understanding human resources, and you disengage your brain from what corporate America says HR is or what Fort Worth Fire says HR is, and you get down to the brass tacks of what small BFD actually engages in HR, and they do, right?
Right.
They have to understand how to file an insurance claim. They have to understand what policies they have. They have to know how to do that first
Right. Or
report of incident.
when you truly stumble into the ick, like truly bad,
How
like
do you deal with it?
how do you deal with it? And then quick preview, quickly, brutally, and publicly.
Yeah.
All three. It's all three. Because at the end of the day, you are protected if you acted fast and I would even
Decisive.
decisive. And I would always argue you're already so far behind the power curve. There's nothing you can do that will be perceived as quick enough or strong enough, other than if you come out and you're literally the Death Star. The second you found out, you focus and fire and just obliterate. Um, that's the kicker. And I mean, let me tell you, world expert on this. I know all about this little topic. And the kicker at the end of the day is that even the membership expects that, even
Right.
if they never even say it. They expect you to be the decisive person and don't beat around the bush. And boy, where there's a story we're not taught. Thank Christ this isn't us, but there's a department in our area, kind of, that, whew, man, bad on toast. And I'm sorry, that chief mishandled that so bad that you couldn't have screwed that up any more than the physical action that was done. And man, take action. When you find out, take action. Because the fact of the matter is that you can always walk back an extreme decision, but you can't walk forward a terrible decision. You just can't. And you're
No.
stuck with it.
Yeah.
Uh that's a big one. Man, that's a big one. And it doesn't necessarily have to be criminal in its case out of the gate. It's just, where's this money at? Why, I was thinking we had this in the account. Let me tell you, 2 phone calls later, you better know where the money's at. And if you don't, let me tell you, the Titanic hit the iceberg. You need to immediately start taking action.
Yeah. What we need to do is just sit in a room with you and me and maybe one or two more and just work on this for about a day.
I need a weekend.
Yeah.
Need a Friday and Saturday night.
Yeah.
Friday night, all day Saturday,
I need
half
to
a
get
day Sunday.
Theo pay the extra for the extra nano banano because it
And
makes pretty slides.
yeah,
It takes your content and makes it look good.
But yeah, I do. And this whole time we've been talking about chiefs, and the original conversation on this was frontline officer.
And fuel.
Like, that's a
Yeah,
whole nother thing.
but
Frontline.
you gotta start at that frontline officer to get to the chief, right? Theoretically. I mean, there is places where the 19-year-old kid becomes the chief. I know that exists,
Huh.
right? But he's got to start somewhere in his repertoire of knowledge.
Well, can't get closer than square zero in that.
Yeah.
All right. How we at on time
We're
now?
good. We need to wrap this, put a bow on it, call it good.
All right.
Keep the old wizard on the hill happy.
If you have any, he's wrong. Everyone else wants it to be longer. If you're interested, reach out to us on this thorough discussion that we had at ittasteslikeburningcast@gmail.com. You can find us and support us on Patreon at ittasteslikeburningcast. We'd always appreciate it if you'd like, click, hit the reminders, ding, subscribe, lick on YouTube or Patreon or Spotify or Apple or anywhere else that you listen to us. And particularly if you're international, I'd be kind of interested in hearing from anyone in Germany or Australia on this. I have a sneaky feeling they're dealing the same death of 10,000 paper cuts.
Their fuel costs are 10 times ours, right?
Right.
One last thing. If you've got any thoughts on Jesse running for the 4th vice president, drop us a line on that.
Of SFFMA, not the United States.
Yeah,
if you're in Germany, we don't want to confuse you.
Yeah, there's not 4 in America, right? But for the SFFMA, I'm considering. I've been approached. I've been talked to, and just give me your thoughts on it. Tell me, no, you're an idiot, right?
Or hooray!
Yeah. With that,
This is Matt.
this is Jesse.
Have a good evening.